Hello, and welcome to another edition of No Lights Paranormal, where three nerdy paranormal investigators sit down and discuss spooky stories from the web. My name is Joe, I'm the lead investigator.
My name is Teresa, and I am the researcher.
My name is Alex, the Baba Yaga enthusiast, and the equipment setter upper.
All of it. All of the above.
All of it.
Just check C.
And today is our July roundtable. Woo! Fanfare.
We really need an audio box.
Welcome to roundtable number 5, 6, something like that.
I have no idea anymore, honestly.
We're in there. It's fine.
I think it's 5.
It's the end of the month roundtable. Yay!
The one time Teresa's like, let's just present it and move on.
Let's just go! So I'm not going to go over any news today because honestly, none of it has changed from the last time. And then, of course, with the next month coming up here pretty soon, it's all going to change anyway. So, yeah.
People still doing weekend investigations.
It's all exactly the same stuff, which is a good thing. But, August, it's going to start picking up a little bit. September, even better. October will be fucking amazing.
The Halloween months.
So I'm excited. It's going to get good.
Yeah, I don't expect much for August, but I feel like September is when
September
really...
should, absolutely.
That's actually, so I guess September really you could consider like the paranormal convention round 2s start going on.
Yeah.
They get them in before it gets too cold.
Yeah, because we all know what that feels like.
Oh, dude, it all harkens back to our time in negative 400-degree weather at Madison Seminary, and we were all huddled for warmth and freezing to death and came home with frostbitten toes and fingers.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about how much Ohio sucks for paranormal investigation.
Yeah. In the winter, at least, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like it's not much better in the summer.
It is just because you have the ability to kind of cool down a little bit, like air conditioner, stuff like that. But in the winter, you just can't escape that cold. Yeah. Like ghost hunting, like you can't do it.
Right. Well, that and most of the buildings, they're set up to not freeze, so to speak.
Right.
No busted water lines or anything like that. But heat and air conditioning aren't really in their repertoire. They're just like, we're making sure stuff doesn't blow up.
Here's the thing. Because we live in Ohio, we're kind of accustomed to weird heat fluxes.
Mm-hmm.
So we know how to navigate around it. It's like, all right, stay hydrated, do this, blah, blah, blah. Unless you're me, wear clothing that isn't going to draw a lot of heat. It's easier to, I guess I'm saying it's easier to ghost hunt in the summer than it is in winter when you're sitting there huddled up like, blah, 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 blah. It's like, do you hear that on it? No, that's my teeth.
Yeah, it's my teeth chattering. We're good.
I think it's equally as bad. All right. We've been to Madison twice. The first time I roasted my balls off. The second time was so fucking cold I couldn't move.
See, the first time that I was there, the only place I really got overheated one was the staircase.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah, because there's no flow. There's no airflow at all. It's just stagnant.
Other than that, I was fine.
Satan's
Even the upstairs
butthole.
it was hot, but it was manageable.
Yeah, it was all fucked up. Anyway.
Yeah.
So, roundtable today, you had said something really interesting during the last episode regarding, I was talking about the library being haunted and how it's weird that you don't normally see places like a library being haunted, sort of a mundane place you wouldn't expect it. So we, of course, rabbit holed the way that we do and talked about interesting things that are haunted that don't necessarily seem like they should be, whether it be people, places, or things. So that's where we are going for this roundtable.
Yeah.
Yep. Stuff that shouldn't be haunted, places that shouldn't be haunted.
Which is hilarious because we had just talked before we did the podcast last week saying, I don't know what to talk about on a roundtable. I was like, we'll find out in the episode.
Yep.
Sure enough, 5 minutes into the episode,
let it flow. I mean, we've talked about, at this point, the podcast has been going for well over a year now.
Yeah.
We've talked about so much haunted stuff and so many. The one thing you can say about the States is there's been such a variety of hauntings.
Oh, yeah.
That's true.
That, like, there almost is no topic that we haven't, like, touched or put our finger on a little bit. You know what I mean?
We've kind of touched the whole round robin thing.
So, yeah, the round tables are just bullshit theoretical sessions that we kind of deep dive whatever comes to us at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, whatever sparks in our misfiring brains.
And then, of course, because I am me, I took the whole thing in multiple paths, but I also went very, very literal, and I found a list of really, really crazy stories about haunted books.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, there's like 8 of them that you're not supposed to touch, basically.
like ever. Apparently, they can like flat out kill you.
They are cursed, if you will, or
Yeah.
supposedly
Challenge
so.
accepted.
Right, right. Well, unfortunately, these particular books on my list you'll never be able to touch because they are in museums and private collections in various places that they're literally not touchable.
I've watched National Treasure. I can get in there.
Oh, okay. Just check. You're gonna call Nick Cage? Be like,
Absolutely.
Be like, dude, we got shit to do.
He's going to head up my team.
No, not Nick Cage, the other one. He'll get me in.
I got you. I got you. So yeah, yay!
All right. Well, talk about them.
Okay, yeah, I can start off, no problem at all.
Well, we're not. It's a roundtable. It's just discussion. We're not.
Well, still,
Yeah, there's no
I didn't know if
specific
you guys
order.
had something cool you wanted to mention.
No.
So my supposedly cursed books, the one that I found the most interesting was oddly enough the very, very first one that I started reading about. It is called the Codex Gigas, which quite literally translates into giant book.
Thank you, Monty Python.
And if people have never seen it, then
Well, you're never going to see it. It is in a private collection, and then from there went on to a museum. It's not. Well, I guess you could if you went to Sweden.
I would mean that if people have never seen it on the YouTubes or the TVs or something, then
Yes.
And I'm sure
You
pictures and
borderline live
videos
under a
really
rock.
don't do
So
it justice. So
I am going to read the article directly as written from the website mentalfloss.com. I absolutely love this site because you can find all kinds of crazy fucking stories and they're really well written. So, yeah. Anyway, so if cursing power was based solely on a book's size, the Codex Gigas, or aka the Devil's Bible, would probably be the most dangerous book ever written. Weighing in at 165 pounds and measuring about 3 feet in height, the roughly 800-year-old tome is thought to be the world's largest surviving medieval manuscript. The manuscript's exact origins have been lost by time, but historians believe it was written at some point between 1204 and 1230 in the Kingdom of Bohemia, which is now part of the Czech Republic. According to the National Library of Sweden, the book was owned by at least 3 different monasteries before Emperor Rudolf II added it to his private collection, which his private collection also would go on to house the Voynich manuscript, which is
another one that was on the list.
Yes, another ridiculously haunted book. In 1648, it was claimed by the Swedish army.
Why are you pulling your sleeves down, bro?
Joe's stripping. He's stripping.
Fine.
It's real fucking hot out here, and he's wearing
for the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Ohio summer.
Exactly. It's hot. Anyway, in 1948, it was claimed by the Swedish army during the 30 Years' War and taken to Stockholm, where it is now housed in Sweden's National Library since about 1768. While many illuminated texts were produced by teams of scribes, scholars believe that the Codex Gigas is a work of one single copyist. Written entirely in Latin, the book contains both the Old and the New Testaments, along with Czech and Jewish history texts. An encyclopedia with information on geometry, legal matters, and entertainment, among other topics, medical treatises. Interesting. Hundreds of obituaries, several magical spells, and a calendar.
Important.
Right. The book's sinister reputation stems from a full-colored portrait of the devil contained in its pages, and the legend about how the image got there. Hermanus Heremidas, or Herman the Recluse, was...
I just want to check my knowledge, because you're going to, in real time, check me here and tell me how. But wasn't it some like crazy madman that painted it?
No.
All right, I'm wrong. Cool.
That's okay though. So his name was Herman the Recluse, or that wasn't his real name. Hermanus Heremidas was his name.
Herman.
Herman the Recluse. He was a monk, and he broke his vows, and he was sentenced to be walled up alive in the monastery.
Sounds like a madman to me.
Right.
So he struck a deal to save himself with whomever the powers that be at that time. And they said that if over the course of one single night he could write a book containing all of the world's knowledge, his life would be spared. So when he realized that this task was absolutely impossible, he sold his soul to the devil, who helped him finish this book in one night and signed, quote unquote, it with the now infamous portrait. There are several tales of misfortune attached to the Codex Gigas, but the curse seems to be fairly benign, considering the book supposedly was co-written by Beelzebub. Yeah, I love that.
That's Beelzebub's brother, right? Beelzebub.
That's the one. Well, they spelled it funny.
Yeah, I know.
So that's why I read it funny, because they spelled it stupid. One legend, dating back to at least 1585, maintains that a guard was institutionalized after being accidentally locked in Sweden's National Library overnight. He was supposedly found under a table the next morning, claiming to have seen the Codex Gigas join a procession of books that danced through the air around the museum.
It's Mickey Mouse, dude. It's Fantasia.
Exactly. But yeah, supposedly this monk, obviously, he doesn't want to be bricked up in a wall alive. That's not going to work out for most people. Yeah, sold his soul to the devil that evening, and the devil helped him write this book.
And that's actually very interesting because, I mean, let's face it, we would all try to bullshit our way through that. Like, oh yeah, I can write the world's knowledge. It's cool. Because at that time, I guess this is afterthought, but I was thinking, like, it's what year?
That would have been
1200 something.
No. That book was written in, oh gosh, I have to go back. I'm so sorry.
You said sometime between 11 and 1200.
They're saying some point between 1204 and 1230 in the Kingdom of Bohemia, which now is the Czech Republic.
Yeah,
now has a grove in LA. It's fine.
Right. No, I could have bullshitted out of that. I'm like, hey, this is my world. I wrote all about the world's knowledge. Not there's loopholes in that.
just write you know nothing, Jon Snow.
and you win, exactly.
But no, that's I've always been interested in not selling my soul, but the aspect of selling your soul.
The idea that people supposedly have done it.
Well, goes off the aspect of what makes your soul so valuable that they would take it.
I think just the idea that it is your eternal soul.
Well, yeah, but that's what I mean is the idea of what made your soul more important than John Q. Public out here.
Oh no,
Why did they make a deal?
I don't think any one person's soul is more important. I think John Q. Public just didn't offer to sell his.
No. I mean more of what aspect of you made them even pay attention to that.
Can you imagine though? A monk, a man who devoted himself to religion.
I mean, that might be one reason.
Yeah. A man
That's what I'm meaning. The bigger reason behind the reason why they did.
Yeah, like he literally devoted himself to the higher power.
If we're going to break into some weird religion talk here, let's just say that the devil is a person that I would consider the ultimate propagandist, right?
Facts, right?
That's where I was going with this bigger game here.
Let's look at the fact that there are old histories. Well, I venture to call them histories because they're not that old. They're not ancient, but there are old stories of St. Bob Dylan, who met the devil at the crossroads and sold his soul to be able to play.
And all of a sudden was an amazing musician.
Yeah, there's multiple stories about that.
By first-hand accounts, he was not a good musician.
Yeah, no. Apparently he was like pretty terrible.
Until he came back. And listen, I don't know where the crossroads are, and I don't know that I guess I can't be like, I'm a Baba Yaga enthusiast, but I believe in this.
A little bit contradictory, but it's all right.
But, it's just one of those things where I'm like, okay, so what do you get out of that? I was like, well, a lot of people... Oh, you mean Bob Dylan sold his soul and all of a sudden he can play guitar? I want to play guitar. I want to be rich and famous. It's generally a power grab, right?
Yeah. That's for us, yes, but for them, what's the aspect of like why
I
Why
think
would you want
propaganda
less
and
of?
following in line?
That's where I'm going. Like bigger game. Like what's the purpose of then? Because a soul is a soul.
It's like dominoes.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be the bookworm that I am here for just a moment.
No.
I don't believe it.
The crossroads.
Right.
So it's metaphorical. The crossroads, obviously, very obviously, is a metaphorical thing. When you get to the crossroads of a certain point in your life, blah 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 blah, you know,
Of life.
something bigger than you, etc. However, with that said, a man by the name of Robert Johnson
Yeah. Real time fact checkers.
supposedly his crossroads where he sold his soul to the devil was literally the intersection of highways 49 and 61 in Clarksdale, Mississippi.
Oh wow. Yeah, she crowned it. All right.
So the irony of that is I've heard stories on doing my Baba Yaga enthusiast research, right?
Yeah, funny because I was actually fucking with the Baba Yaga, but go ahead.
But no, I've heard stories on how to talk to or get FaceTime with the Baba Yaga. And actually, ironically, it usually involves waiting at a crossroads or
Mhm.
leaving gifts at a crossroads
Well, I mean, even
and then coming
Supernatural,
back to see whether or not she
Yeah.
shows up.
even the Supernatural show, even did that. They had their own specific crossroad demons, which I thought was an interesting aspect. They were like businessmen and stuff like that. I'm like, that's actually interesting. Like, it makes a little bit of sense. But yeah, there's throughout history, it's crossroads. Crossroads are always, whether it's metaphorical or physical,
Yeah,
who knows?
and
But
it's supposed to be metaphorical.
I think it's metaphorical, but sometimes both.
Yeah.
Sometimes both on accident.
Well,
you know what I mean?
I believe that there is a physical crossroad that people will go to because of the metaphor. They will seek out that location that is
Yeah.
a for real crossing of roads in
well,
physical form.
let's be
Or
honest, and let's go a
crossing of
little
ley
life
lines.
lore here.
Who knows?
You never know where life is going to lead you.
Exactly.
And you never know where you're going to meet your own personal crossroads. You could literally be at a crossroads or at the end of a street.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Yep. That's exactly correct.
Little life lessons from No Lights Paranormal.
Mm-hmm. So
Don't fuck with
And
the Baba Yaga.
before you go any further, the reason why I was laughing every time you said that book's name was because it reminded me of that Mel Brooks movie, General Biggest Dickus.
oh my god.
That's why I kept laughing the entire. I'm like, this is.
Okay.
Sorry, little levity.
Now every single time I read that, that's what I'm gonna think of.
You're welcome, people. I'm a man of the people. I give.
And if you do not know who Mel Brooks is, for the love of God, please look up his movies. You will definitely appreciate it if you have any sort of a sense of humor whatsoever.
Right.
So there's a lot. Another one that I really, really liked, and it's the story. It's a book called The Orphan's Story.
Yep.
That was
that one too.
That was a super fucking good.
So apparently, like from what I read, despite being written like in the early 1900s, that book didn't actually get published until 2018 because people that were like, and it wasn't for lack of interest. Apparently, what had happened was like a lot of the publishers had started to show an interest, and then they would die under mysterious circumstances, be it like
That's
a really
exactly
bad car
correct.
accident
Wow.
or like a mysterious medical thing
Yeah.
popped up.
Yeah. The book was written somewhere between 1608 and 1615 and did not get published until 1965.
So what happened to that publicist?
So far, nothing. She is actually a teacher. I should say a professor. She's a college professor. And apparently she's okay. She's totally fine.
Alternatively, it also never said whether or not she actually read the book.
That
Oh,
is
okay.
true. It did not say that.
Okay. Well,
Because the article that I read specifically said that she had her concerns about like
reading it.
because she was like looking up like what happened to these other publishers. And so like it was one of those apprehension things. Like so I don't know that she actually ever read the book or just published it.
So it says here that she.
That brings up some interesting questions.
Oh no, I'm a liar. So I was incorrect with my dating. It actually says in 2017, 400 years after it was written, The Orphan's Story was finally published. And so far, Palacios, who is the woman who published it, has been, it says, untroubled by the curse. She teaches Spanish American literature at 2 universities in Switzerland.
All right.
And the irony is, I believe that story, I know it was written by Spanish, but I think they were Spanish monks.
Okay.
It was a man who was originally a monk and went on to become, he was appointed Archbishop in 1630 of Trevento, and then after that he was appointed Archbishop of Palermo, I believe, in 1650.
2 thoughts coming to my head with that. One, do curses have a time limit?
I don't think so.
Who knows? And whether or not she read the book. If she read the book, that leans more to the time limit thing, I guess. I don't know, or maybe specific people, I don't know.
Oh.
Or 2, since it was in 2017 that was published,
Mhm.
so they had the capability of scanning the book
And not actually reading
and
it.
not actually reading it. But will that transfer the curse somewhere else?
Don't know, because
Yeah, I know, but
because most of the accounts that I read with these cursed books, most of them, it was the original document, and they were
No.
mostly handwritten.
well, that's why I said, does it transfer? Because now if it's online, anybody can read it.
Valid.
So does it not affect it online, or do you have to read the original manuscript?
Well, I think it's, and this is just me personally. I don't fucking know one way or the other.
Yeah, I'm not
right?
going to test it out.
For me and my beliefs, I would say it would have to be the original manuscript.
No.
I think that curses, much like dealings with the Fae, have a very specific language to them,
All right.
and there are
I get you.
loopholes.
No.
You know what I mean?
Well, that's what I mean. Loopholes are, look, anybody who's dealt with a contract or a business knows that loopholes are a thing. So they're the lifeline of contracts.
So curses and Fae dealings, from what I am to understand or what I believe, however you want to say it, there tends to be a very specific verbiage.
Yeah.
Like this, and this will happen. If you do something outside of that verbiage, then
Yeah, but it has to do with reading it.
it's a risk, but you might be okay.
And now, unless it said if you read this book, this manuscript, then yes.
Yeah.
But if you read it,
I think when original contracts are written, I use
Yeah.
air quotes for contracts. When they say that if you read this book, they mean this book, not
Yeah.
the copies of this book.
That's why I figured. I was just
That's what I believe.
I also believe that curses are very finite, and they're like, hey, it's this, and this.
Now that's what I believe. Read that shit at your own risk.
But by all means, I'm not saying do it. I'm just saying. But no, I just thought that was an interesting aspect to go down for a little bit of, are they transferable for something like that? Because if
they
you think
could
about
be.
it, opportunity, whether or not, I don't know who put the curse in there, or if there is a curse on it, but if it's Fae, wouldn't they appreciate the chance of, hey, you opened a broader spectrum for this. Thank you.
Right. Well, see, and that's the difference. Like, I believe that if the original verbiage was, if you read this story, that's different than if you read this book.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get you. That's what I said. It's
So
just an interesting
it's
aspect.
real weird. And I don't know the original deal.
Right. So it's just an interesting aspect.
Owns the curse or the contract or the selling of whatever.
Yeah.
So I went even further than that.
That's a shocker.
Started looking into other things that were supposedly haunted. And one of them is, it's known as the most evil car in America.
Yeah, I've heard of this one.
So,
Good movie, too.
right? The story starts innocently enough. In Old Orchard Beach, Maine, a 1964 Dodge 330 limited edition called the Golden Eagle was purchased with the intention of using it as a police car. It didn't take long, though, for the car to get a very creepy reputation, so the police force sold it to an elderly man. Here's the story. 3 officers in history ever drove this car while they were on the police force, and the car was owned by the police. All 3 of them died very, very heinous deaths, different times, when they apparently went home from duty, murdered their entire families, and then killed themselves.
All right. It's a real
It's a
specific
stressful
thing there.
It's a stressful job, but
Right. So according to the current owner of the car, Wendy Allen, The car has killed at least 14 people, but others say that that's an incredibly conservative number. They believe the death toll to be much, much higher. Wendy Allen got her numbers from people who have died in association with the car simply since she owned it. In all groups of people who have died in a strange or bizarre way totals about 32 people that this car has supposedly killed.
What was the movie that was kind
Christine.
of based around? Was it? Yeah, Christine.
So
Good look out, bro.
over the years, various different groups from churches have assembled and vandalized the car. Anyone who took part in the vandalization of the car met a gruesome and untimely demise.
That's called karma.
Mm-hmm.
I see what you did there.
Real bad dad fun. Karma.
She just got
It says the readers, which were people who attempted to like literally do a psychic reading on the car, there have been multiple. Each of them at separate incidents completely were involved in horrific accidents with semi-trucks and decapitated.
no.
Each of them died that way in completely separate accidents, separate occasions, separate parts of the world.
Read my mind, will you?
There are many macabre tales that surround this car, dubbing it the most evil car in America. It says perhaps you don't really want to find out, but you're, super, super welcome to apply for credit with this particular company to see if you can own your own classic, not haunted car.
No.
So
No.
I have a weird side quest story to tell off of that particular story. And I didn't bring it up when I actually heard the story because A, I forgot by the time I got home from work, and B, it sounded like an out there cockamamie story anyway. Like, you hear a lot of shit working for the... So, about 25 or so years ago, I did over-the-phone customer service for Daimler Chrysler,
Okay.
right? I shit you not. It may have been the same car. I don't know. This fucking old guy calls up one day, right? And he literally went on this tangent for about an hour about how his car was haunted and it was trying to kill him.
Wow.
And it was a Dodge of some sort. I don't really remember
That's
the details
shit,
specifically.
I kind of believe him.
But he was very specific and had his stories about how, So the one story that I remember him telling was that he had stopped and gotten a coffee somewhere, right? And he was driving home and his coffee literally jumped out of the cup holder. And when he went to grab it, the car swerved itself into oncoming traffic. Like, obviously feeling the motion of the car, he got back up, fucked the coffee, and like swerved back. But so like, it was real, like, and he said this was not like the only thing.
So it wasn't just a bad front end alignment.
And he told me more stories, but like I was only half cocked paying attention. I'm like
this guy's
nuts.
Fast forward 25 years later. Damn.
So interestingly enough, this particular car, the Golden Eagle, it actually was, there were several other incidents. There were multiple incidents where, people would be going down the highway and the doors would open. This isn't one of these like electric cars that the doors can just open, and drivers and passengers would fall out of the car onto the highway to their demise. Another story was abrupt malfunctioning where the brakes would go out and the car would start swerving around like crazy and they couldn't control it and they couldn't stop it. Later, when it was taken to a mechanic, there wasn't a damn thing wrong with it.
That's pretty typical for a Dodge, though.
Yeah, right.
Right.
I was just thinking that.
One family who owned the car, after the entire family died in a house fire after one of the children was dared by a sibling to touch the car, and so the kid touched the car.
Yeah.
And that evening their house caught fire and the whole family died. A local church group obviously believed that this car was possessed, and the car was actually completely dismantled in 2010. So, interesting stuff.
Oh, what happened to the people that dismantled it?
It doesn't say. That's where the story ends.
Of course.
Lackluster. All right. No, because I mean, technically, if the car is haunted and it doesn't like vandalism, they would consider that vandalism.
True.
So, and just
Well, maybe dismantling the car freed its spirit.
I mean, that's a possibility. You never know.
You just got to finish the job. You can't just vandalize it. You got to finish the job.
The car literally called people vandalizing it pussies. Like, come on, come at me.
Another car that was cursed was this is actually, we should all actually know this car. It was a Porsche 550 Spider. It was James Dean. Actor James Dean was looking at the car. He was 24 years old. His best friend, Alec Guinness, was with him when he went to look at this car.
That's Obi-Wan Kenobi.
And apparently he had some sort of a flash vision premonition when they saw this car. And he said, dude, do not buy this car. If you buy this car within a week, you'll be dead. Sure as shit.
We all know how that story ends.
Yep.
Yeah, he
See?
in fact crashed the car, and that was the end of that.
Holy shit.
They nicknamed the car Little Bastard, by the way. He was killed in a crash on a California highway at age of 24. The car ended up earning the nickname Little Bastard because it kept causing trouble long after the fateful day of Dean's death, when legendary car customizer George Barris acquired Little Bastard after the crash. He sold its engine and drivetrain to two racing drivers, one was killed and the other was severely injured shortly afterward, also in car accidents. The car was later used as a display item to demonstrate the dangers of road accidents. However, unexplained incidents continue to happen, including a fire in the garage where it was displayed. While being used as a road safety awareness prop in a high school, the car fell on a student, breaking her hip. Eventually, after 5 years of killing and maiming, the now infamous car disappeared altogether in 1960, and the whereabouts of Little Bastard are still unknown.
Actually, they did do a story on that. I think it was on A&E.
Probably.
They did a story on the car. No, and I just thought about something completely unrelated, but also related. The actor Alec Guinness. He's the one that originally played Obi-Wan Kenobi in the Star Wars series. Obi-Wan has the Force.
True.
Alec Guinness had a premonition.
Clearly, he had the Force as well.
Yep. Then his friend died in a car wreck where he went off a cliff, supposedly, or something like that. Something. Yeah. In the movies, Anakin died by falling off, getting cut in half, and fall. His best friend, the character Obi-Wan Kenobi. I'm
right.
Not here.
All right. The parallels here are a little too coincidental.
I've heard stories that Lucas actually chose Alec Guinness to play the part Obi-Wan Kenobi. I'm wondering if he did that because he used that as the basis of Anakin and Obi-Wan.
Maybe so.
Sorry, I nerded out there for a second. Sorry.
Hey, listen, there's a lot of those like weird underlying themes, right? Where despite the fact the story doesn't exactly match up, it's definitely like an inspiration for this character.
Right.
Or
well, I mean, we even do that playing D&D. So.
Oh yeah. There are slim to no original D&D character ideas. You get your idea from somewhere.
Yeah. But no, that if you're looking up when James Dean died, it was 1955 or 65,
something like that. Whatever.
But it was well before Lucas even wrote that. So sorry, I nerded out, guys. Sorry.
Oh,
Fine.
He did not actually go over a cliff.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
He collided head on with another driver on Highway 41.
Oh, same difference. You're still dead.
Yeah, super dead. They said that he was in moderately serious condition when he was transported to the hospital.
Not good.
Yeah, not dead on scene, but
no bueno.
Yeah, exactly. No bueno. John Kennedy was assassinated in a Lincoln Continental SS X100. That car is said to be haunted by people believe the spirit of Mr. Kennedy himself. They attempted to get away from like the apparitions and stuff by changing the car. So it was originally a dark blue vehicle. They painted it black, hoping that would, fix something, I guess.
That's called a Band-Aid if I ever saw it.
It did not.
It's the Amazon way.
The Henry Ford Museum acquired the vehicle where it still sits to this day. And ever since it was put on display, visitors have reported all sorts of spooky incidents, including ghostly apparitions. The Death Car, which was a V8 Ford that Bonnie and Clyde drove, is said to be ridiculously haunted. It sits at Whiskey Pete's Casino.
Yep. I was going to say, I remember talking about that one.
In Prim, Nevada. gosh, there's just, see, like, it went crazy when I looked up haunted cars. Like, it went crazy. Good Lord, there's so many on here. The number 7 London bus is said to be haunted. It's actually not a haunted bus, it's a ghost bus. The bus no longer exists. It was in a bad crash,
Okay.
dismantled, gone forever. But people actually still say that they see the number 7 bus on a road where it isn't even supposed to run, actually. It says, according to legend, the bus suddenly appears late at night in the middle of Cambridge Gardens, which is a road where the number 7 route does not go. The apparition causes drivers to swerve off the road, sometimes with lethal results.
Huh.
In the 1930s, a man crashed his car trying to avoid the bus and died after his vehicle burst into flames. Police assumed that he was driving recklessly until several witnesses reported actually seeing the ghostly bus and watching the man swerve out of its way.
That's been in a bunch of movies. Yeah, that one's well reported.
Oh, it goes on. I have haunted paintings. I have haunted jewelry. You name it.
Yeah. No, haunted paintings I always found as weird. Like,
I'm curious.
thank you, Ghostbusters, for sparking that curiosity.
Right. I'm curious if it goes along with the idea that when your likeness is taken, it
Well, it's
captures
the
a
Amish
small
belief.
piece of your soul.
Yeah, it's the Amish belief.
It's not just Amish that believe that,
well, I know
actually.
that. I'm just saying, from America, we know from the Amish belief.
Exactly.
Yeah, that
Exactly.
actually
To be
captures.
fair, Amish are what? Pennsylvania Dutch.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Dutch is European.
Very, very old roots. That's what that
It rolls back. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, no. But like I said, I know from just the Amish. But yeah, no, even when pictures first came out, a lot of people didn't want their picture taken because it said it captured their soul. So, yeah.
Right.
I wonder if that's actually because they believe that it captured their soul, or if it's because back in that time, like, developing film was kind of an art all by itself.
Yeah.
And, like, did it take your soul, or did they see too many little white streaks going away from their body because the developer wasn't used right? And,
Yeah.
You know,
Well, I mean, even then, that's pictures.
look at that.
Most of
Medieval
them are
debunking
paintings.
right there.
Yeah. A lot of the specifically, I'm looking at portraits
Yeah.
that were done of rich people. But again, while, when they hired somebody to come in and do a portrait of them, they had to sit still. It was a very still life kind of painting thing.
Yeah.
So it took time, it took effort to actually do this painting. So, maybe that counts.
Maybe. I mean, I've always kind of looked at pictures like a fixed moment in time.
Yeah.
Or paintings, because it's taken a literal snapshot of that moment in time and it's still forever.
One interesting example
Maybe
there
some things hiding there.
is a woman by the name of Henrietta Nelson. Her home was Yaxley Hall in an English town called Eye. It was a very, very, very large. She was very, very wealthy. She lived 1734 to 1816, where she passed by falling down a flight of stairs in her home. She was buried in a mausoleum on the property, which was obviously according to her wishes. Her whole family was there. However, years later, the new owners moved in and destroyed the mausoleum and moved her remains to a nearby church cemetery.
That seems like bad karma.
Right. According to legend, Nelson has haunted the grounds where her mausoleum was ever since then, trying to return home to her desired resting place. The portrait of Nelson, which was painted by William Johnson, has purportedly become imbued with her spirit, with her ghost following it even when it moved from house to house. Viewers have reported her face in the painting changing shapes and a pale figure with identical clothing walking around the grounds.
Huh.
Interesting shit. There are so many of these as well. There was a painting by Edvard Munch called Death and a Child. Sometimes this is also called The Dead Mother. It was painted in 1899. The painting is of a small blonde-haired girl who is standing beside the bed where her dead mother is laying. They believe that it was somewhat of a self-portrait by him because his mother had passed of tuberculosis when he was a child. And they say that memories of that trauma are what caused him to paint this painting. But yeah, apparently previous owners of the painting are said to have described the girl disappearing altogether from the canvas. Like, just not there.
I think I heard about that.
And instead,
Yeah.
her spirit wanders around the place where the painting is housed.
Like they actually captured. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
heard about that.
Yeah. And then, you'll look back again at a different time and the girl will be in the painting again. Crazy, crazy shit. There was a painting that was blamed for house fires in the 1980s. Multiple, actually. A whole series of house fires. It was not the original painting, but prints of Giovanni Bragdolin painting called The Crying Boy. Multiple house fires. And the print was found completely undamaged amidst the ruins of the house fires.
So the entire thing burned down except for that painting.
Except for that painting.
Protective aura, maybe?
They blame it on the fact that it was varnished with a fire retardant coating, and then the painting was face down on the floor, which apparently protected it from being burnt.
Did the frame get burnt?
Oh yeah, flame gone, and the string that
Okay.
held the painting was gone as well. But they're saying that the actual print itself was completely undamaged, even though everything else in the house, including other art,
Yeah.
was completely destroyed.
I'm not necessarily sure flame retardant stuff helps prevent it from being destroyed. though.
In a complete and total lost house fire?
Yeah.
I wouldn't think so either.
Yeah. That sounds like someone just saying something because they don't want to deal with it.
Right.
My thoughts, but
Never know.
yeah.
The John Wayne Gacy painting, Pogo the Clown,
Yeah.
is
I've heard
said
that
to be
one.
haunted. Gosh, there's another one called The Hanging Man.
Yeah.
That supposedly some really nasty, unexplained, and dangerous incidents happen in the place where it is housed, wherever that may be. There's so many. The
Yeah, well-
Anguished Man. In 2010, owner Sean Robinson uploaded a YouTube video which included a text description of how he had heard strange noises and crying and seen the figure of a man appear and disappear in his home. Guests who have viewed the painting reportedly experience extreme nausea and nosebleeds.
Well, see, with those ones, that's like if you paint a picture, say you're emo and you're painting your feelings into the picture. I know it's making light of it, but that's like you're painting your emotions into it.
No, we get what you're saying.
That grief and everything goes into that paint.
Energy stays with.
So yes. So depending on what you paint, goes back to your original point. Did you actually create something by doing that?
Right.
Well, that, and let's be honest. I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing or whatever. Have you ever really heard of a happy artist?
Not
No.
usually.
No, they're normally tortured in some way, be it by themselves or other people.
Mm-hmm. And that goes for all sorts of things.
Oh, yeah.
People who paint, people who
Make music.
create
people-
statues, musicians, you name it. So what'd you guys find?
I was working the whole time, so I didn't find anything, but there's something that I've kind of wanted to discuss, and I brought it up a little bit earlier to these guys. Churches. By all accounts, churches should not be haunted because of what you mentioned earlier. Like, if you have faith and you believe in heaven, hell, whatever, Valhalla, wherever you want to go, technically you shouldn't be haunting a place of worship. But why are some of them haunted?
Well, you most definitely would not think that one of the parishioners of said church would be one to haunt it.
No, especially because, and that's the hot take, my personal belief, disclaimer ready, if you're a religious person and you get heated very easily, I'm sorry. But
I have
The
to
church?
say, religious people who get heated very easily probably are not our audience.
you never know. You never know. But the church is just brick and mortar. It's literally just a building. God is
Yeah.
not actually in that church. So that's a different aspect. Like,
Look
I
under
heard-
a rock. I'm
I've-
there.
I've heard people say, oh, God is in the church. No, he's not in the church. You got there. You are what God is in. So that's where you are. He is there with you. But when you leave, he's also with you.
Yeah, he
So-
doesn't just, throw up a cot and live at the church.
Yeah, he doesn't have a permanent residence there. I mean, he kind of does, but that's in, metaphorical reasons. But it's more about the people in the church is what makes him there.
Yeah. Where one on one
alone,
gathered in my name.
it like all the ornate stuff that churches, that's just pop and circumstance. That's all that is. So for a church to be haunted, it goes back to the soul taking the souls theory.
Mm-hmm.
It's clout. Like, hey, you're not supposed to be haunted. This is your house. I'm in your house. I'm haunting the shit because of the misconception of that. So yeah, churches, to me, I've always found it weird that they're haunted because by all rights, by what we know in life, shouldn't be. But then once you delve into it a little bit, even the Akron Baptist Temple, the one I went to when I was younger, there was some freaky shit that happened in there.
It's interesting that you say that, because there's a church right here in Barberton that I have been inside of helping out when it's not a church anymore. It actually got sold off and it is something else now.
Yeah.
But anyway, I was in this church helping out my sister who attended that particular church at that time. And very clearly, her and I both saw the apparition of a woman head down the hall and into the office that would have at that time been the pastor's office.
Yeah.
And my sister, when I pointed this out to her, she said she's actually seen that multiple times prior to me pointing it out to her.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, super haunted.
And that's a weird thing. So 2 things to touch on there. That's a weird thing because
I might be able to get us into there, by the way.
I think the times make things different. Like a lot of churches nowadays, like the building itself can be sold off for multiple reasons and be multiple different things. You know what I mean? Like even if it was once something else and it's now a church. Hell, there's one in Cincinnati or Columbus, something like that. That's a brewery now. It's a big, beautiful brewery.
Hilarious to me.
Water to wine, bro.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
But the thing that I was going to talk about is let's look at these old ancient monasteries that are said to be haunted. And like people see like the monks walking down the hall.
Or that one in Josh Gate, I don't mean to cut you off, but the one Josh Gate where they wouldn't allow him to be there overnight because of all the things that happened.
Oh, yeah.
But I think part of my curiosity with like those more ancient temples like that is I would like to know realistically, like how many of those claim to be intelligent haunts versus just residual hauntings.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I get what you're meaning.
Because residual tends to just be an energy imprint, right? Like a recording of whatever. And a lot of these people that are like, yes, I saw this monk in this old monastery and he was walking down this hallway. Didn't talk to me or anything.
Yeah, he just walked down. Residual. Yeah. Even though I
was also too scared to be like, hey, you.
Yeah, what's up?
Well, it's like that one I recorded last night or reported last week when the guy saw this figure in a tunnel and he's like, I didn't catch a good shot of it because I was running for my life. Like,
right?
I love that.
So I would just be curious to know the numbers on that. Like how many, and let's take residual and intelligent out of it, right?
Right.
And how many have people interacted with versus just being stunned and watched it go by?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I even question, I'm not questioning what they saw or anything like that. That's not what I'm doing. I'm questioning, what they saw. Was it actually what they saw, or was that just a trick of the eyes? Was it something?
Sorry, our dog hates our neighbor, which is funny because he's actually a really nice guy.
Yeah. But no, it's by all accounts, by what we know, churches should not be haunted.
Right.
Because one, you moved on, you're in the afterlife, and once you're dead, you don't come back. So why would you, if you believed in that, choose to haunt a church?
Right.
One theory, that's the place you found the most happiness, so that's where you want to go. Or two, and this gets dark, apologies, something dark happened there.
Place where you didn't find happy.
Got molested.
Or something equally icky.
Yeah. So, goes back to my original statement. God's not in the church, so why would they haunt a church?
Right.
Big gains. That was just one thing that I would.
Realistically, I would hearken it back to exactly what you said at the beginning of this. A church is just brick and mortar.
Right. Exactly.
And I would have to go a step farther and say that, along with some of the other stuff that was touched upon, not everybody that you find in a church is religious.
Oh, God, no. No pun intended on that. But yeah, no, you're exactly right. Every church I've been to, I've also seen them in the bar committing committing all the 10 Commandment crimes. So yeah, no, they're not. That's why I don't like religious people. I like spiritual people. But again, not to get on the religious aspect, but that's one thing I found that was always interesting.
Mm-hmm. I dig it.
So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So
Yeah.
what about you?
What about me?
I know
I'm
you-
just here to listen bullshit and put my 2 cents in.
That's kind of
That's what a
that's
round
where
table
we're-
is.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
I
kind of
don't
what
know
we're-
stories every week.
Yeah.
Wow. So I'm the only one who actually looked anything up.
Well, I'm
I
sorry.
was also at work.
I'm sorry, Encyclopedia Teresa. I was looking stuff up too. You just happened to rattle off 4 or 5 books instead of 1. All right?
I'm sorry. Did you want to tell me about a different book?
Nope, you took them all. Thanks, Mom.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
No, it's fine. Again,
Yeah,
that's
that's
the bonus
round
to a
table.
round table.
Yeah.
We're just talking and discussing what we think caused this.
And too, Teresa, and this is not a knock against you. I actually appreciate this about you. You're one of those ones that if you get a subject that you're interested in, you are like a dog. You won't let it rest. You will go full bore into it. And I appreciate that about you. Don't
We're
get me
just
wrong.
going to start calling her Alice. She goes down that rabbit.
Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm just the big caterpillar with the pipe or whatever, right?
Oh, man, now you're going to... That's going to bug the hell out of me because
It's
I
fine.
forget that person's name.
Whatever.
No, I got to look it up. I'll do it after.
But
Yeah.
yeah, no. And so the problem with me is like, I have heard a lot of stories about a lot of different things, but I have the most absolute dog shit memory at the table here.
It's
So
true.
like, you know, you could have told a story about any one of those things, and I guarantee you that I've heard kind of a parallel story. Not the same story, but something along the lines just like it. Like the guy that played cards and made a deal with the devil in Europe.
Mm.
Don't remember exactly what the story was. You know what I'm talking about.
I
Like,
do.
you're over there nodding your head already.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Absalom.
What?
That's the name of the caterpillar. Sorry.
But yeah, so like I've heard a lot of the stories. I just wish I had a better memory to recall them.
Well, I mean, I think that's just a product of being 40 and in your case, ADHD. But
I got both working against me. I'm going to try some of those Joe Rogan drugs, the neurogenics or whatever.
oh yeah, I've
There
heard
you
about
go.
that.
Can't hurt, right?
It
Can't
can.
make shit worse.
Yeah, it might make it a little worse. Like I forgot to take the pill.
Whoops. I dig it.
But no, I looked up stuff, but again, every time I went to look up, something happened. I had to give my attention to that. So
Yeah.
And as far as most of the places, like so I'll take it the other way. Like places that you would think would be haunted, but aren't, or at least aren't mentioned,
Yeah.
right? Most of the places that I found like that, it's because of the culture that they're in more so than
right.
or at least
no, I get
in
you.
my opinion, it's because, so for instance, one place that I would kind of love to go see for myself, just sheer fucking curiosity. Teresa and I watched, I'm going to shout out another podcast / a YouTube guy, Scary Interesting. All right?
Yeah, I've
I
heard
love
of
that
them.
guy.
Love the guy's shit. So we were laying there, I think it was last Sunday when this story came up. It was the one about it was a Chinese general, and I don't remember what dynasty, but he was the one that the rebels had come down to like kind of overtake all of China. And like I'm telling vague points of the story because honestly, I can't really remember it. Jun, I think the guy's name was. It's Xun.
Yeah, June.
And like he, and I want to say like it started off with 1,000 people,
Yeah,
held off like 16,000 rebel army
yeah.
for, I want to say it was like a year-ish, maybe a little bit longer.
It was longer than that because it was to the point that they were literally eating the dead.
Yeah.
It wasn't even the dead though. So like at the point where they were getting ready to do their last battle, like he sacrificed his mistress and fed his soldiers his mistress. And the soldiers felt so bad that they all sacrificed their wives and children
To be eaten.
to
Yeah.
feed the army, who in turn, it wasn't much longer after that where they all died. But like,
Yeah, they did end up all dying anyway.
but
This
the
Yeah.
gross
happened.
like horribleness that happened there,
Yeah.
like anywhere else, you'd be like, that bitch is haunted.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
But
Nobody, I don't even know if anybody's been there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
all right, I will say this: if it's not, there might be a reason for that.
Maybe because they all felt
No,
it
no.
wasn't a bad thing. It was like a duty kind
It
of
was
thing.
willing.
Right.
They were willing to do that so there's not any, yes, it's horrific from our standpoint, but for their part, it's honor.
It might have been.
So,
and that's entirely possible.
yeah. So that if it's not haunted, you said no one's been there, but if it is, it's understandable why. But if it's not, it's kind of also understandable.
I don't know if anybody's been there or not, honestly. So the way that Scary Interesting does his stories is they're not based. It's not a ghost story.
Yeah.
It's a horrific event.
I got you.
So yeah.
Okay.
I
So
don't
yeah,
know.
that could be a reason why it was willingly given. So
Crazy, isn't it?
can you imagine that supper though, like
Right.
like crying while you're eating.
She was such a good one.
I mean, basically,
Tastes
the only
good.
thing I can say to that is, look, humans are capable of very weird shit when
Oh,
it gets
yeah.
to the point where you have been rationed down to like half a bowl of rice a day for like the last year and a half.
Yeah, these
and don't get
dudes
me
were-
wrong, rice is filling,
Like-
but when you're
Yeah.
exerting that
Like-
energy, yeah,
Half a bowl a day?
yeah,
Like, no,
That's
like
fucked up.
when you get to the point where you're starving,
yeah,
your brain goes other places.
yep, yeah. When your body starts shutting down in specific places due to malnutrition,
All of a sudden, Sally don't look too bad.
yeah, and more than just another way.
Right.
Like you looking tasty.
No,
Oh, thank you. I always thought I was reading. Not that.
No. Tasty.
That's not what I meant.
I mean, you look like you go good with some A1 sauce.
I meant like, with some cheese on a bun.
Yeah. Oh God. Sorry.
That's really fucked up, actually. It's even fucked up that people like us, and I'm sure there are others like us, are so incredibly desensitized by the world that we live in that we can talk about that without being like, ew.
No, I would think I would make a joke about it if I. That's the way I deal with like traumatic. It's joking. So
Just still stands to reason. I think that we're all pretty desensitized to a lot of things that maybe we shouldn't be.
For sure.
maybe.
But I mean, you
don't get me
gotta,
wrong.
you got to think people back then also probably didn't bat an eye. Like it's
Yeah.
True.
it's a weird human nature where
I mean, yeah. The thing, like, we're all humans. Humans really haven't changed, and this is debatable. But however many years we've been on the planet,
Right.
but as long as it happened over there and I didn't die, fuck it.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, they even do that in today's world. Like, hey, that's happening over there. It's not going to affect me.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing.
I think it's just kind of the survival instinct that's built into us, like to an extent.
You mean
Like,
selfishness? Yeah.
Yeah.
that too.
Yeah. No, I mean that boils down to it. That's what it is. It's like, oh, I don't have to deal with it. Cool. It's not. I guess I'm paraphrasing it horribly wrong, but it's more like that happened in another country, and we don't do that here. So if it happened here, desensitized, yes.
Right.
So if it happened here, would we still joke about it? I believe I would, because that's the way I deal with traumatic shit. I joke about it. That way it makes it not seem that bad. I know it's bad.
I mean,
But-
that's another thing too, though, is grateful. That's never been a situation that has arisen in my lifetime
Yeah.
where I would have to deal with something like that. So,
Yeah, but if you were born 1,000, 1,500 years ago,
That's different.
Like-
that's a viable option.
That's
different
daily
altogether.
bread, if you will.
Man, there's a lot of bad euphemisms there.
So I don't actually have any idea where we are time wise.
We are about ready to wrap it up. That's where we are time wise.
Oh, well, then I totally need you to tell us what we're going to do next week.
Well, we gotta fill with fluff, because he's got to pull out his handy dandy notebook.
I
Oh.
gotta pull out my handy dandy notebook and see what states are left.
Well, look at the what's I didn't even look at the measurements of who's all downloaded and where from and all that good
Listen,
stuff.
we're down to like 6 or 7 states. I'm not doing measurements anymore.
I'm still
going to
curious to know. But
Wait a
either way,
A girl is curious about. Never mind. I'm not even finished.
about
I
six-
don't believe it.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, don't forget too, though, guys, that we're going to be doing our absolute best to get a recording for a YouTube style video when we go to Madison, which is Sunday, the 18th of August. So here in just about 3.5 weeks.
Yeah.
So hopefully that will turn out the way that we would like it to. Send good wishes for the batteries in our camcorders so we're
Colorado.
not drained too much.
Colorado.
Colorado.
Why do I sing the states? I don't.
Yeah, I don't know. It's okay. I do too.
That's neither do I. But yeah, I mean, I got the cameras. It's just, I hope the battery lines up.
Yeah, we just have to hope for the longevity of the batteries.
Yeah.
How many batteries do you have for that thing?
I
Enough.
have 5 total, I think.
That should be
And I
enough,
also have a charger for 2 chargers. So we should have enough. It's just
hopefully.
last time we were there that they love that battery.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah. The only reason that our other ones lasted is because they're friggin' hardwired into the wall.
Well, I mean, if you look at it, they really liked it because when I took that same camera to Waverly,
Yeah.
it lasted.
Almost the whole damn night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we used it all night.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. They really enjoyed the batteries up there at Madison. And that's cool. What
But
else?
yeah. But all right, Colorado next week.
So yes, Colorado next week, which means
Socials.
yeah, socials. Everybody can reach out to us. And of course, as always, I want to hear from you. I want to hear your stories. I want to hear about places that you think are cool, objects that you have found that are haunted, or even just stories of objects. You don't have to have a personal one. Yeah, all kinds of good stuff. Send me your stories at No Lights Paranormal on Facebook, No Lights Para on X, No Lights Paranormal at gmail.com. And that's about all.
All right.
And pretty soon, you'll find us on YouTube.
Well, in that case, love you for listening. Stay away from crossroads and don't fuck with the Baba Yaga.
Yeah. Love you guys.
Yeah, don't fuck with it.